Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, January 25th, all the way through to Sunday, January 31st of 2021. And this week is full of drama. We have a full moon in the most dramatic and emotionally expressive sign of Leo, where things can get a little over the top, especially because this full moon is making a T-square and is going to be forming a square with Mars, which is a very inflammatory planet that has to do with things like tempers flaring, arguments, disputes, which is still in a conjunction with Uranus, so there can be unexpected circumstances that come out of the word work this week. And this is also in an opposition to, of course, the sun. Any full moon is in opposition with the sun. But the sun is in a super precise, super exact conjunction with Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius. The sun conjunction to Jupiter by itself doesn't necessarily produce a lot of drama. This actually does create a situation where we can find greater opportunities, greater freedoms. The need to change something in a very positive way can come about. However, anytime you see Jupiter in square with Mars, this is a time where people are going to be prone to overreacting to things. And what will they be overreacting to? This week, people are very likely to be overreacting to change or the need for change. People are likely to be overreacting to emotionally stimulating or emotionally charged types of information, experiences, content, things of that nature as well. And so this is a week where I would say maybe stay off social media if this is going to be hitting you especially hard if you have a lot of energy in the fixed signs. But before we get really deeply into this, I just want to mention, if you are new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I post a new weekly forecast video every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And for even if you're not new to this channel, the way that I structure my videos is that I always begin with a short 5 to 10 minute general overview of the astrology for the week ahead. Do not skip this. This is very important for providing context for the more personalized forecast that I'll be giving you when I get into the forecast for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when I do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure that you listen for your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign so you can get a more holistic overview of the energy for the week ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although for most people this will be more subjective and internalized in its influence. Finally, at the end of each video, I give a short 2 to 3 minute rundown of the energy that we'll be discussing in next week's forecast so you can be even more ahead of the game when it comes to planning and figuring out what's to come. That being said, let's get back into this full moon in the sign of Leo. So this full moon in Leo energy has a few different things going on here. So we did mention at the start of this video, this is forming a T-square, right? A really tight T-square with some of the more problematic energies that have been really inflammatory in a lot of our lives over the past few weeks. This energy really began on January 6th with the Mars ingress into the sign of Taurus and beginning to make a sign-based aspect with Uranus in the sign of Taurus. This can bring unexpected surprises, changes, disruptions, frustrations, the need for freedom, the need to break out of stale, stagnant, old energies that feel repressive or boring or dull or mundane. This is also an energy where there's a conflict between this need for freedom, which is really amplified by Jupiter's square to Mars, which happened already, and Jupiter's square to Uranus, which actually happened already. And this Jupiter square to Uranus is an intense craving for freedom, an intense craving for something new, something fresh, something different in all of our lives. However, there are a couple of different things here which might have been holding us back. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you watch my video, not only about the Great Conjunction, but my video about the energy of your Mars transiting the sign of Taurus, which is an energy that's going to be lasting through the end of February, so you can get additional information and insight into this. But where we've been feeling the frustration, the blockage, limitations, and restrictions, these could be coming from within or coming from without. And so if they're coming from within, it could be that you feel hesitant to make the changes that deep down inside you know that you need to make. So you're procrastinating or putting things off or trying to hold on to the way things are in your life because those things feel very comfortable. You have maybe a certain level of comfort you've attained on a physical level with the current status quo, or maybe a certain level of comfort you'd attained on an intellectual or mental level when it comes to your ideas, your beliefs, the facts and figures that you hold on to and that you assume to be true. And by changing what you need to change, you're going to have to change your mindset. You're going to have to let go of rigid dogmatic beliefs or rigid dogmatic thinking. You're going to have to let go of a certain mindset about something. You're going to have to let go of certain comfortable situations on a physical material level in order to shift into the change that you need to create more freedom for yourself overall, to liberate yourself from these stuck, stagnant old energies. The other thing too is that Saturn might be providing actual real limitations. So it's not just fear or this desire to hold on to the structures you've created that are comfortable. It could also very literally be that external circumstances are delaying you or are causing you unexpected disruptions, or unexpected changes might be coming up that delay your plans, or that cause you to have to change things more gradually, or that cause you to have to integrate new things that you didn't know that you'd have to work on integrating. And so there's a lot going on here, and we've been talking about this for several weeks now. And so this full moon energy, on the one hand, activates this, right? It makes it much more intensified. So we're feeling that need for change a little bit more so on an emotional level. We're ready to, maybe branch outside of our comfort zones or do something that's more fun. I think a lot of people are going to be looking for liberation through play, through fun, through romance, through things that feel really good. People might be feeling like they want to express themselves more, express their feelings a lot more. But this is also kind of an energy. It doesn't just activate this, but it also kind of pulls us outside of it, right? And so we've had this energy that's really intense with the stellium in Aquarius. We've had the intense energy in the sign of Taurus for the past couple of weeks. This is a new energy that sort of pulls us away from the nitty-gritty of what's been going on in terms of the changes we've been needing to make, the frustrations, the hesitations, the blockages, all the different components of this. We might be making changes really quickly, but the actual implementation might take a while or be more gradual than we might like, those types of things. And this full moon is having us take a step back and gain a sense of perspective on what it is that we're creating. And it's asking us, is this in alignment with our authenticity? Is this in alignment with our passions? Is our heart in what it is that we're creating? Is our heart in this, or are we just disrupting things or causing chaos for the sake of disruption, for the sake of making things exciting and keeping things fresh? Or are we, holding on to things that are not in alignment with our truth, that are not in alignment with our authenticity, that our hearts are not connected to right now? That's another question that we should be asking ourselves, in addition to, are we holding on to this because it's comfortable? If we are holding on to something, is it just that it's comfortable? And also, make sure that make sure that internally your heart is aligned with what it is that you're creating or what it is that you're holding on to. Both ends of the spectrum. That's going to be kind of an examination that we'll be doing here with this full moon in the sign of Leo, which will be illuminating these energies and causing us to kind of ask these questions a little bit more. The other thing too is with Jupiter in such a tight conjunction with the sun, this is actually a really great energy. It would be much better if it wasn't in such a tight square with Mars and also to a lesser extent Uranus, because it is going to be a little all over the place. And this is an energy where we will be amplifying that need for freedom, that need to start something new, something fresh, that need to amp things up a little bit. But Jupiter provides benefits, opportunities that wouldn't otherwise arise for us to learn new information, try new things. This is also another energy that gives us that sense of perspective, right? When we're looking at Jupiter, It's kind of taking a step back and getting a bigger picture, broader perspective on the situation and looking at all of the opportunities available to us, not just being really focused on one avenue or one opportunity or one way of doing things. This actually helps us to broaden our scope and broaden our horizons and helps us to understand things in a way that's bigger and more multifaceted, which can be very helpful in this particular situation, because that Saturn energy could also have us very locked into an idea of like, I want to make this change, but it needs to happen this way. And we're learning more and more as these energies play out that it doesn't need to happen in the exact way that you think it needs to happen. The universe might have other plans. There might be other opportunities for you. So if you're holding on very rigidly to your own specific plan for what it is that you want to create and change, that can be another blockage. And this Jupiter energy will help you to, at least to a certain extent, see that there are other ways. And some of these ways might be things that you wouldn't have otherwise considered. And so this full moon can be illuminating that and highlighting it as well. The other thing that I should mention is that Venus is going to be in a conjunction with Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn on the exact same day as this really big eclipse. And this is an interesting energy because Venus is actually going to station to go retrograde in December of this year in Capricorn in an exact conjunction with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And so the energy that's coming up this week around the time of the full moon is an energy that we will be revisiting at the end of the year. This could bring obsessive tendencies, compulsive tendencies. This could have you really fixated on something, on a specific goal, a specific plan, a specific ambition, a specific topic that you're going on a rabbit hole with. This could also bring power struggles or obsessions or jealousy to the surface in relationships. This could also have to do with finances, and there could be something going on in the financial sector, kind of in a general sense, but also in your own life that comes up under this energy. And so whatever it is that's coming up for you this week, just know that some of this in certain areas will come back around at the end of the year in December to be revisited in a bigger way. And I talked about this pretty in detail in my 2021 forecasts for all 12 signs, which are available right now for immediate viewing and usage through my Cosmic community. So if you're not already a member of my Cosmic community, you can join down in the description below. We have all sorts of really wonderful things there. Not only will you get my 2021 forecasts for all 12 signs, you'll be able to have access to exclusive content, our monthly new moon gatherings, which happen once a month, where we talk about the astrology, set intentions together, talk about the astrology for the month ahead, where we get together as a group to do this. We also have, live Q&A that happens once a month, the exclusive tutorials, and something that I'm super excited about that I actually finally put together on the day that I'm filming this is a forum for all of you to actually connect with like-minded people who love astrology within this community. And that's really the main objective that I had for this community. And I've been looking for the perfect way to implement that and put it together so you guys can all connect and collaborate and learn from each other. And I finally set that up. So I'm super excited. So if you want to connect with like-minded people who love astrology, you can join the Cosmic community down in the description below and get exclusive astrology content. Anyway, moving on from that, I think we pretty much got it covered when it comes to the astrology influences, except for the kind of elephant in the room here, which is Mercury stationing to go retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. And this is going to be happening around 26 degrees in the sign of Aquarius. And, Mercury, even though it's been kind of instigating or amplifying the intensity of the energy of the Aquarius stellium and that square to Mars and Uranus, it won't be going back and hitting those exact same positions that it hit when it was direct and hitting those planets, if that makes sense. So it's not going to go back and hit Saturn it will come into contact with Jupiter, which is actually more of a positive energy. And so we'll see a Mercury-Jupiter conjunction coming about 3 times, including in March. And I actually chose some really great electional dates around that Mercury-Jupiter conjunction with Mercury direct in March for my Spring Electional Astrology Guide. And you can pre-order that down in the description below. But in February, you know, there's still a lot of conflict there. You can still utilize this for positive things, but it's going to be a little bit more introspective. It's going to be more about getting your ducks in a row and figuring things out and gaining that perspective that we just talked about, as opposed to actually implementing your plans, communicating your ideas, signing those contracts, signing on the dotted line, you know, all those things that you don't typically want to do when Mercury is retrograde, right? But there's still a lot of positive energy. You're going to be having a lot of internal dialogue and a lot of inspiration that comes to you internally. And, you know, you could have old opportunities and old, really exciting communications that do come back around and that you have to explore or reintegrate into your life in order to create the change that you want to create or harness the opportunities that you want to create. And that's going to be going on until, I believe, February 20th, and that's when Mercury goes direct here. Yeah, February 20th, and it goes direct at 11 degrees. So it's going to go from 26 to 11 degrees. It's not going to hit that degree where it will be in an exact square with Uranus or an exact conjunction with Saturn, but it is going to be, you know, it's still going to be stimulating some stuff. So we do have to keep that in mind. All right. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning with Aries. And before we do, I have one more quick announcement. I am so excited about so many things that I'm creating right now, but I'm creating a huge, really in-depth extended astrology course, and you can sign up for the waitlist. It's going to begin in spring. I'm going to be opening registration in March, and this is the ultimate astrology course. This is the best course I've ever created. It's going to be the most in-depth. It's going to be the most interactive. You're going to have questions and answers and the ability to connect with actual astrologers with experience who can answer your questions, myself included. There's going to be live webinars integrated into this. There's going to be, you know, assignments and homework and things like that to keep you accountable, but it's going to be broken up into smaller pieces. So you're going to be building your astrology knowledge from the ground up, from beginner to intermediate all the way to advanced, so you can actually give really good, accurate chart interpretations. You can do readings for people. You can make predictions. You can help people like your friends and family in your own life, or you could even go on to do astrology professionally, or, you know, utilize this with clients in a different capacity. This is something that I've been really wanting to create for quite some time, and I have been doing a lot of research, and this is going to be good, you guys. You don't want to miss this. So sign up for the waitlist down in the description below if you want to get more information as it becomes available about that really awesome course. There will be affordable payment plan options for those of you who, you know, maybe can't pay all at once or are affected by COVID. And also, if you're on the wait list, you'll be able to take advantage of the early bird discount. So definitely check that out. Okay, anyway, moving on. I'm excited about a lot of things, you guys. I'm not just doing this just to like advertise things. I'm actually just like really excited to tell people. But let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. All right, let's start with Aries and with Aries rising. So for Aries and for Aries rising, this energy is actually impacting you in a way that's a little bit nicer and a little bit less dramatic because this is a drama moon. I might title this video like full moon drama or something crazy like that, because it actually really is. But we have the full moon drama happening in your 5th house, which is great. Leo obviously occupying the 5th house. Those two energies go together quite well because you are an Aries rising. You have that positioning already, but the full moon in the 5th house is going to be helping you to kind of, first off, there might have been a lot of drama in your social circle or a lot of energy around connecting with other people, socializing, social activity in general for some Aries rising people. This is going to pull you out of that. This is going to have you focusing more on the things that you love and that you're really excited about and that you want to create out in the world. This could also have you focusing more on your children or on your romantic life or on just things that you love to do, like going dancing. You might feel like you want to go out, and I guess for a lot of people right now, you know, there's lockdowns and stuff in different locations. We don't have that quite so severe where we're at, but for a lot of you, it might not be possible to go out and go dancing, but you might want to go and do something or engage in something, even in your home, that you're passionate about, that's fun, that livens things up this week. This would be a great time for you to do that. And this is a great energy for relationships for Aries. If you are an Aries sun, moon, or rising, especially near that 9th degree. So I mean, really anywhere from 4 to 14 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really positively. You're going to be feeling like just way more expressive, way more connected to people. You know, your romantic life might heat up. You might meet someone, or you might be able to engage in your current partnership in a way that's much more passionate. And, you know, this is a great time for a date night or something like that this week. This happens on Thursday, but this energy is still there on Friday. So Friday night, you know, go out, have a night on the town, or have a night in where maybe you just go dancing in your house or something like that. Whatever is available to you that you find fun. Also, Mercury is going to be stationing to go retrograde. That's happening on Saturday, the 30th, and Mercury is stationing also in your 11th house. This is where, so you might have been making new connections recently, or working on getting rid of old connections that no longer serve you when it comes to your social circle, when it comes to the groups that you're a part of. This Mercury retrograde is going to have you rethinking your group associations, rethinking your friendships, rethinking your partnerships in one way or another. But it's also going to have you reintegrating old positive connections that you've had in the past with friends or with people that you've surrounded yourself with that maybe have fallen by the wayside. You'll have unexpected phone calls, emails, text messages, communications, especially via the internet, because this is in Aquarius. So, you know, if you haven't checked on your Facebook profile or whatever social media in quite a while, you might go back and check on it and find that you have a message from somebody from your past during this Mercury retrograde period until February 20th. This is probably going to be a good thing for you to connect with this person or reconnect with this person in some way. And you might want to reach out and reconnect with somebody. So you might have someone on your mind that you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to this person in so long. You might want to revisit that energy. You might want to revisit that connection. And that can benefit you in a lot of different ways. The one area this week where you might find some frustration is in the area of finance. There's something changing in your financial realm or in the material realm for you. And you're trying to create more independence, but there can be some stuck energy or some frustration there where you're trying to make it happen all at once, or you've had something come in to change something that's kind of chaotic. But focusing on the things that you love and focusing on your group interactions and reconnecting with those people from your past, that can actually help mitigate that energy and help you to focus more on the positive aspects that are going on for you this week. Okay. And for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this energy is impacting you in a way that's a little bit more challenging. Surprise, surprise, you guys have had that for a few weeks now. But, you know, it's not all bad. So you've been very busy. Taurus people probably have been feeling very on edge, very scattered, very amped up about something. All the fixed signs might have been feeling very scattered, very intense, very amped up about something. Like there's a lot that you have to do. There's a lot on your plate. There are a lot of changes that you have to make, and you're having a hard time breaking it down, taking it slow and figuring out the steps and the pieces to the puzzle to get to where you need to get. Now's a time where you get to take a step back and take a step away from that. And also in your work, there's probably been a lot going on there where you started a new cycle. You started a new period with your career with that great conjunction that happened in December. And you've been kind of carrying that out. Like, what do you want for your career? Where do you want to build for yourself? What new opportunities can you create for yourself in your career? So there's been a lot going on out in the world, external types of energies, and you yourself are changing. This week, you're actually going to be pulled kind of back down to earth. You're going to be pulled back down to focusing on your roots. You're going to want to be spending time at home, doing things that are fun and exciting and creative and that you're passionate about in your home environment. That's going to be a good way to kind of balance out some of that energy. I will say, though, that there might be some drama with your family, or there might be some drama with your home or your home life this week. And that might be part of the reason why you're pulled back down into that area. And so just kind of keep that in mind. If that is the case and there's something going on and you feel personally attacked or very thrown off by it, take a breath. You know, with Taurus and with a lot of the fixed signs, you might be overreacting. I hate to say it, but you might be, and that's with that Jupiter-Mars square especially, and also if there's like work-related issues or complications that come up this week. Again, you might be overreacting. So take a step back, bring yourself down to earth, spend some time at home, take a personal day, take a day off, just so you can kind of reset and gain that perspective and kind of ask yourself, is my reaction to this actually in alignment with what's really happening? Maybe get an outside perspective on that. The other thing too that's going on is Mercury is stationing to go retrograde in your 10th house. And so you're going to be over the next few weeks revisiting old opportunities in your career, old connections in your career, old work-related projects. If you're not working, you might connect, like if you're retired or something like that, you might reconnect with an old boss or an old coworker or an old passion that you had in your career that maybe you stopped doing because you're not working anymore. Or, you know, maybe if you are somebody who's not working because you've been laid off or something like that, you might have an old opportunity that comes back around. Maybe, you know, your old boss calls you and says, hey, can you come in and work for just a few weeks or work part-time or take your job back? That could be something that could come up for you, especially in February with this Mercury retrograde as well. Okay, and then for for Gemini and for Gemini rising. Geminis are another sign that's being hit in a more positive way by this full moon energy. And so the full moon's happening in the sign of Leo in your 3rd house. And so this is the house of communication, collaboration, connection with your community. There could have been a lot of energy recently around learning something new, discovering new skill sets, maybe going back to school for something, thinking about travel plans for the future, thinking about teaching a course or something like that too. That could be a big thing for Geminis, or taking a new course. And now's a time where you have to kind of look at the kind of, not the nitty gritty, but like the components of this, right? What does this look like in actual application? How do you utilize this in a more practical way? How do you take these broader, more all-encompassing concepts that you've been diving into or been exposed to, even if maybe you don't want to be exposed to them, and distill them and break them down into something that you can utilize in your day-to-day life and experience? This could also be a time for Geminis where you have some very dramatic, over-the-top communication coming in. It's going to feel like it comes in out of nowhere, like what the heck was that and why? And so that could be a part of this too. But in general, this is actually a really good time to bounce ideas off of somebody, like in partnership, or to share your feelings with somebody, like in partnership with somebody else, as long as you're not being like over the top and overly dramatic about it. It should actually bode really well for you. So this is a really good time for open and honest communication about your feelings in partnership with somebody else. This could also be a really great time for creative thinking or creative writing, or putting something out there, you know, verbally or through written expression that's really creative, or for connecting with a supportive group in your immediate environment, in your community, or connecting with your neighbors. Although there could be some neighbor drama, but like people who you already know, who you're already like, this guy's all right, you know, I'm gonna have a conversation with him today. This could be a really great week for that. Okay, and then also Mercury, your ruling planet, is stationing to go retrograde in the 9th house. That's actually a good thing. So, you know, as far as Mercury retrogrades go for Geminis, this is probably one of the better ones. Most of them this year, except for the one that's happening in May, are going to be hitting you in a very positive way. This is something I talked about in the 2021 forecast that I did for all 12 signs for my cosmic community members. You know, for Geminis and for all of the air signs, these Mercury retrogrades are actually going to be very helpful for you. So this is where you're going to have to be revisiting old ideas, old concepts, old mindsets. This is actually a really good time to like review old educational materials that you have forgotten about, and you're going to find some nuggets of gold that you can really integrate into your experience a lot more fully and completely. So if there's a course that you didn't really pay close attention to, or if there's something that you've been wanting to revisit when it comes to previous education, now's the time to do it. You might find that you're reconnecting with people who are at a distance or in foreign countries over the course of the next 3 weeks. And yeah, I think this is a really good time for you to kind of take a step back, regroup, and gain a new sense of perspective on your experience over these next few weeks. Okay, and for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this energy is happening in your second house, which is the house of money. For Cancers, this could be some money-related drama, not necessarily in a way that is going to be long lasting, but it could be a moment of like panic or a moment of like something has changed and I don't know what to do about it. It could be that your partner's finances have changed or there's something going on that you're trying to change or create or set in motion involving maybe joint finances, taking out a loan, getting an investment or an investor, things of that nature. It could involve taxes, inheritance, insurance, something along those lines. And it's kind of like, you take a step back and you're like, okay, what did I actually just do here? Was this a good thing? And you might have a little bit of a freak out if you did make some big moves. However, that doesn't mean that that's going to last. This could be you just overreacting to the situation. And for most people, it actually will be. I will say that this could be a culmination of something that you did change or that you did set in motion that's actually starting to pay off for you in some way, especially on that financial level. But it could feel overwhelming nonetheless. So it's kind of like I set this in motion and I had all these financial goals and now things are starting to happen and oh my goodness, what did I do? In a more positive way, it could still be that exact same type of reaction though, where it's like, okay, how do I put this together? How do I work with this? There could also be potentially some drama with your friends and your social circle. For Cancers in general, just stay off of social media for like at least a few more weeks until, the end of February when Mars moves on. This is another week where you could get into fights, arguments, disputes. There could be disruptive energies with group interactions and things like that. So just keep that in mind as well. But for the most part, this could be your opportunities coming to fruition. It's just kind of like, wow, this is a lot all at once. Maybe I set too many things in motion with my financial goals here. The other thing too is that Mercury is going to be retrograding in your 8th house. And so you might, this happens like literally every time Mercury is retrograded in my 8th house. It's like I forgot about a bill or there's like some sort of random thing that when the Mercury retrograde comes, I get like a letter in the mail or an email or something like that, or a phone call from some sort of collections agency or from some, like, it'll be like a medical bill from like 2 years ago or something really random like that. And so that is something that could definitely come up with Mercury retrograding in your 8th house. This could also be you having to kind of go back in and kind of do some mindset work around your fears, around the things in your life that are controlling you from the inside out based on past experiences that are not connected to the present moment. That's something to really think about during this Mercury retrograde period. But this is going to be a good time for revisiting your budget. So you made some changes financially, most likely over the past several weeks. And this is a time to go back in, revisit things, revise, re-edit, reformulate your plan. Make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, all of your numbers in order before you continue to progress and move forward with your financial plans. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leos, this is happening, again, this is going to be a little more dramatic for Leos. Leos, they say people give Leos a bad rap and say that Leos, they love drama and they're super dramatic. They can be. That can absolutely be a thing with Leo. But normally that's not the case. Leos are typically very generous, very heartfelt. They're very fun because they are a little bit more dramatic, but in a way that's usually quite positive in my experience. But this is a week where you're going to be feeling like you're going to want to create some drama, or drama is going to be surrounding you a little bit more, especially around Thursday where we have this full moon energy. So I would say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even a little bit into the weekend. You might be feeling emotional, and you might be expressing your emotions in a way that's kind of haphazard with that Mars Uranus conjunction. There could be something really inflammatory that occurs in the area of work, career, public reputation, your relationship with people in positions of power and authority, things of that nature. And there could also be, something that you're really trying to set in motion in partnership with somebody else, and there have been a lot of hiccups or a lot of changes that you've needed to pivot, or you've been blocking yourself or holding yourself back from creating what you want to create in partnership. And so there could be some issues in partnership that come up this week. However, this is a great time for you to take a step back, gain a sense of perspective. You're a Leo, right? What are you doing? Is the thing that you're doing, is this thing that you're trying to create in alignment with your authenticity? Is the partner that you're doing this with aligned with your authenticity, your truth, your goals, your direction, your passions, right? Think about these things, because these are going to be very important for you to revisit moving forward, especially because Mercury's retrograding in your 7th house. So this is a time with Mercury retrograde where you might be revisiting old connections, old partnerships. This is usually a time where the exes come out and you get phone calls and things like that, or like random messages from, relationships from your past. But this could be a time where, you're maybe revisiting old relationships in a way that's more positive. And there could be old connections with people that you were really close with that you want to bring back into the mix. This could also be you rethinking, revising, re-editing contracts, negotiations, and agreements with other peoples or another party. Other people or another party as well. And so all of these things could be coming up for you in the next few weeks. Okay. And so Virgo and Virgo rising. So this is it's always interesting when the full moon happens in your 12th house, because normally the full moon is a time where you want to get out there and do something and express yourself, especially in Leo, right? It's time to party. It's time to have fun. And you're kind of getting restless. You want to go out and do something that helps you experience joy. But for Virgos, it's almost going to be like the exact opposite. Like, you're going to find joy in solitude. You're going to be able to pull yourself out of the busyness of your day-to-day life and day-to-day experience and spend time on your own, or spend time in contemplation, spend time working on maybe creative projects behind the scenes, spend time journaling, spend time, doing meditation, spend time doing different types of spiritual practices and activities. This is a time where you're not going to be feeling probably quite as social for most Virgo rising people especially, and that's okay. Taking time out from the busyness of your day-to-day life, because things have probably been kind of busy. There's been a lot of work and a lot of things that you're working on setting in motion. Taking time away from that is going to give you an emotional reprieve. It's going to help you to reset, and it's going to give you that perspective, that new perspective that you need in order to understand what opportunities you really do have in front of you and how to take advantage of those opportunities moving forward. The energy might be a little disruptive in terms of you might have trouble sleeping. You might have trouble allowing yourself to rest, but you feel the need to do it. Right? Even though there's so much on your mind, there's so much going on, you need to take a little bit of a break this week. The other thing too is that Mercury is going to be stationing to go retrograde in your 6th house. This could be where you have to revisit old relationships with coworkers. You have to kind of go back and redo things when it comes to work projects. This is a great time to reorganize your desk or your office or your desktop on your computer or something along those lines, to go through old files and purge and clean things out. This is also a really good time to revisit your strategies and your plans for your work for the coming year, or your strategies and your plans for your day-to-day routines and experiences for the coming year. This is also where you can bring back an old habit or an old routine that was really fun and really exciting for you and provided a lot of value to you in the past, but you've let it fall by the wayside. So those are things that you can integrate with this Mercury retrograde. Mercury is your sign, or your ruling planet for your sign. And so I will say that, when Mercury's in retrograde, unless you're a natal Mercury retrograde person, it's going to hit you a little bit more predominantly. And so those Mercury retrograde, normal rules apply. So don't, sign contracts. Don't, make a lot of concrete plans. Understand that you are going to be more prone to miscommunications and things like that. All the normal Mercury retrograde stuff is going to impact you a little bit more. And when Mercury retrogrades in the 6th house, it's actually a little bit more bothersome because this actually does disrupt. It causes problems and miscommunications and things like that that disrupts your normal day-to-day routines and experiences. So it's a lot of like really little but like super annoying things because they impact your day-to-day life. And so again, just make sure you're double and triple checking everything and you should be absolutely okay. But I just want to, forewarn you about that part. All right. And for Libra rising. So for Libras, this full moon is happening in your 11th house. It's time to connect with your friends. It's time to get some group interaction or group discussion going. It's time to share the way that you feel with a group or with your friends, or to find support through your social networks in some way. There's been maybe a lot of activity. So first and foremost, there's a lot of activity going on here in your 5th house, which is the house of fun and romance and play and children even. And so this could be where you've been setting something in motion, beginning at the end of last year, really, to create a structure for your life that allows you to bring in more joy, to bring in more passion, to do the things that you love to do because you love to do them. But this is a full moon that kind of reminds you that you don't have to do these things in a solitary way, right? You can bring in other people who share the same passions. You can connect with like-minded people. You can connect with a group. So those are all really great things to kind of think about and to do. There could be some financial disruptions going on for Libra in particular, just because we do have that Mars-Uranus conjunction. It could also be, though, that there's like new financial opportunities coming up for you right now, and that could feel overwhelming in some way, or you might feel like you need to jump on it, especially with this being activated by the full moon energy. Make sure that you're really thinking things through. Don't just jump in for like a quick fix or something like that, or try to do something to put a band-aid on a problem that you have with your finances or with some sort of debt. Make sure that you're thinking long-term with this. And as long as you are, and as long as this is something that's well thought out, if you need to make that change or make that investment, then it could be okay to do so. Oh, actually, Libra, Mercury retrograde. This Mercury retrograde for Libra is going to be very positive. The Mercury retrograde is going to actually be quite positive for all of the air signs. This is something that I mentioned in my 2021 forecast videos for all 12 signs, which are available for my Cosmic Community members. And yeah, the Mercury retrogrades this year are going to be benefiting you quite a bit. And so this is where you're going to be reintegrating old passions, old hobbies, old activities, old things that you used to really, really love to do back into your life in a big and really powerful and really positive way. And so that's really what this Mercury retrograde is going to be about. So, lucky Libra, you're going to be revisiting joy, revisiting fun, revisiting maybe an old flame or an old romance. That could be part of it too. Reconnecting with your children if you have any, or your inner child. These are all things that you could, start to work on, reintegrate throughout the Mercury retrograde until February 20th. All right. And Scorpio and Scorpio rising. This is the last of the, actually not the last of the fixed signs. This is the third of the fixed signs. This energy is going to be impacting Scorpios in a way that, again, is a little bit more challenging. And so Scorpios might be kind of overreacting to something. There's an energy here where you've been focusing a lot on what's going on behind the scenes, getting your ducks in a row with your home, your family, your property, your place of living, doing things behind the scenes. And also there's been maybe a disruptive energy or a need to place a lot of attention on your relationships. There's been a lot of changes going on in relationships recently for Scorpio risings. Your relationships might have been, or your interactions with people, especially one-on-one, might have been disrupted or disruptive or very, I would say Scorpios, because I am a Scorpio rising too. Scorpio risings might be having some very unusual exchanges one-on-one with people, or unusual dynamics going on in relationships right now. And that could be a little unnerving or a little bit, challenging, but you're also probably feeling really fired up to change something or do something in relationship with others, and that's great too. But basically, this full moon energy is pulling you back out into the limelight. You have to focus on your career. You have to focus on the bigger picture. You have to focus on, if you're not working, what it is that you're putting out there into the world, the legacy that you're leaving behind. You have to focus on the bigger picture this week. And, there could be something that demands your attention related to maybe a business partnership or transaction or interaction that causes you to have to focus more on your career and what it is that you're putting out there and your public reputation in some way. There could be something that comes about that you might kind of overreact to. Scorpios are going to be like way over the top. You're going to be overdoing it, overreacting to things. If you have to make changes, you might be making the changes too hard, too fast, too big, right? Too grandiose, when maybe you should be keeping it smaller and more gradual. So keep those things in mind when it comes to your home life, when it comes to your partnerships, especially when it comes to your career this week, but also just in everything in life for Scorpios. The Mercury retrograde is going to be happening in your 4th house. That's the house of home, family, and property. You might have to reorganize your home, redo something in your home situation that you set in motion already. It's kind of like you set some things in motion with your home life or with your property or with your family connections, and things have changed. And so you have to kind of go back and revisit things and reintegrate things. That could be a big part of it too. But this is a really great time to reorganize your home or redo something in terms of like a project. Maybe you remodeled something or painted something and you don't like it. Now you got to go back and redo it. That could be a thing as well. And this could also be family connections coming back around. And so you might be revisiting old family connections. So people maybe in your family lineage or in your family in general that you haven't spoken to in quite a while. That could be a thing that you have to deal with too, or renegotiating contracts or things of that nature involving your property. That could be another thing that you're dealing with this Mercury retrograde. All right. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this full moon is very luckily hitting you in a much more positive way. This could be where you've been focusing a lot on learning new skills, on putting the pieces together, on maybe some sort of certification course, or maybe on teaching or sharing information. A lot of communication, a lot of emails, text messages, phone calls coming in for Sagittarius more recently. But this is a time where you're kind of pulling yourself out of that and looking at the bigger picture. Why are you learning all of these different things? What is the end goal? What is the big picture here? What is kind of the bigger course of action that you can take? How can you get a new perspective on all of this that you've been putting together, or that you've been, all this new information that you've maybe been bombarded with, even when it comes to your work and, that type of thing? How can you take all of this information and integrate it? That's, I think, a big part of this as well. This is also about you looking at your integrity. So especially if you're a Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 4 to 14 degrees, you'll be feeling this in a very positive way. This is going to have you kind of taking a step back and examining if the way that you're communicating information, if the way that you're connecting with your community and with other people, and if the way that you're presenting yourself out in the world is truly authentic. Is this in alignment with your integrity? Is this in alignment with the values that you hold dear? And that's something that you're really going to be looking at with your work too. So if on a day-to-day basis, the work that you do, which probably right now is a little chaotic and all over the place, busyness, right, for Sagittarius, if the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis is not in alignment with what you believe to be right and to be true and to be in alignment with your like moral and ethical value systems, that's something you're going to look at rebelling against or changing or something along those lines. So that's something you might be kind of looking into. Mercury retrograding in your 3rd house. This is actually quite nice for reconnecting with people from your past, old relationships, old connections, one-on-one with people, close friends, things of that nature. And also, this is a really good time for you to review old books, old courses, things of that nature that you maybe skipped over some things, or you didn't value it as much as it really was valuable to you at the time, or you've just forgotten stuff. And you're going to find some gold nuggets of wisdom over the next few weeks if you do that. So that's another part of this for Sagittarius. Okay. And for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this energy is happening in your 8th house with the full moon in the sign of Leo. This is the culmination of something that you've been setting in motion probably since the start of this year, or even before the start of this year, with the great conjunction that is happening in your, or has happened and is still kind of going on in your second house of finance. So money's been on your mind. You've been looking at your big goals, your big plans, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, your 20-year plan when it comes to your finances and how you can create better circumstances and more financial freedom for yourself and for your family into the future. And this is a time where you're going to take a step back and maybe look at not just your budget, not just the work that you're doing, not just the way that you're saving money, but maybe the way that you're investing your money, the way that you are paying off debts or maybe are not paying off debts and avoiding those types of things. So this is a really good time for you to take stock of your taxes, your debts, your investments, your life insurance policy, whatever it is. And also this could be a culmination where something changes kind of dramatically with your partner's resources. And that could be what pulls you away from focusing on what you're doing a little bit more so. There's something that you really want to change or create, for your children or just to, kind of do things that are a little bit more exciting. So you're trying to create financial freedom so you can engage more with the things that you're passionate about and not just with the things that you want to do. And so this could cause that to feel more pressing or give you a new perspective on how you can make the changes very gradually that you want to make in order to create those circumstances for yourself moving forward into the future. Okay. And Aquarius. Aquarius and Aquarius rising. This is the last of the fixed signs. You guys are going to be feeling all over the place here. You probably already are. But there's a lot going on. You're going through this big cosmic reset. You're reinventing yourself. You're letting go of any old conditioning, any old patterns, any old cycles, any old karma that are not in alignment with who you truly are and what you truly came here to do. That's a big thing. And this is a big moment in time. There's also some disruption or change probably going on behind the scenes, most likely involving your home, your property, your family, your place of living. A lot of Aquarians last week commented that they are thinking about moving or changing location or living in a van or whatever it is. And so now's the time where you might start getting some unsolicited feedback from your partner or other people that you're close to in your life, and that could cause you to kind of overreact or take things a little too far, or they might be overreacting and taking things a little too far. And so that's something to definitely keep in mind. That being said, you do kind of have to shift your focus. You've been focusing a lot on you and what it is that you need, you want, your own self-interest, because you're heading into this big new cycle in your life, and those things are important to figure out. But this is a week where you can kind of gain a sense of perspective by pulling back and focusing more on the needs of other people and on your relationships. And you might be forced to a certain extent, but you can also take hold of that energy and just do something really new and exciting in relationship with somebody else or in relationship with a family member. That could be something that could be really fun to do too. Mercury is going to be retrograding in your first house. The thing that I will say about Mercury retrograde in the first house is that when this happens, people tend to create their own problems, their own Mercury retrograde problems. So this is going to be a Mercury retrograde where the complications that come up are because you misspoke. You made the mistake. You did the thing wrong. You planned it at the wrong time. You told the person the wrong time. You forgot to schedule the meeting. You didn't send the email, whatever it is. So you're going to create your own problems. So this is where you have to hold yourself very accountable and be very meticulous in figuring out what it is that that you need to say and how you need to say it, right? Making sure that you're very clear in your communication. Those, emails that you need to send or those things you need to schedule, make sure they get on the calendar, that type of thing. You're probably also going to have like a flood of communication coming in and maybe having to revisit old connections and old communications from the past over the next 3 weeks. So it'll be a little busier time on a mental level when it comes to Aquarius, and you might be rethinking your plan, your approach, your goals, your direction, your orientation in life, even more so. It's kind of like you made a lot of changes and now you have to regroup and reformulate your plans for the future. And that's what's going on for Aquarius. And for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this is another sign where, actually this is a sign where you've been a little bit more internalized in your focus because you've had Saturn and Jupiter in your 12th house, which is the house of solitude. It's the house of seclusion. It's also the house of endings. So there's been a lot that you've been working on wrapping up karmically and physically, old cycles and old patterns that have been repeating that you're kind of over with now. This is also a really great time where maybe you've been focusing on learning a new new spiritual discipline or becoming more disciplined in your spiritual practice or learning a new creative discipline or something like that. You've been working a little bit more behind the scenes. So this is kind of a more hermity kind of energy for Pisces. And this week you're going to kind of be pulled out of that. So it's like the full moon is drawing you back into the real world. It's drawing you back into the mundane, everyday reality and the busyness that comes along with that. This is where you need to kind of focus a little bit more on your day-to-day routines, on the way that you take care of your body, on the way that you take care of your work, on the way that you take care of others, on the way that you take care of the housekeeping. Whatever it is, these things need to be addressed. And it's kind of like you've let your physical life fall by the wayside a little bit because there's been so much going on in your non-physical life and maybe in your subconscious reality even. And it's time to kind of take a step away from that. There could be, by the way, for Pisces, some very intense or inflammatory or unusual or chaotic communications coming in, especially through your work. And, or it could even be involving like your health or, healthcare practitioners, things of that nature. But if you are somebody who works, it's probably going to be like work-related communications that might cause you to overreact and cause unnecessary drama in the workplace. And so if you do have a message that comes through or communication that comes in that gets you really fired up, that makes you feel like you have to change everything or do something all at once or kind of go crazy with it or yell at that person or become really dramatic about it, take a breath, take a step back, take a moment and ask yourself, is your reaction to the situation appropriate to the reality of what's going on here? Are you just reacting or are you taking time to think it through and respond? Do not send that email. Do not push that send button until you've taken that moment. Multiple moments if you can, overnight if you can, because that's very likely to happen for Pisces. And then also, the Mercury retrograde is going to be happening in your 12th house. And so, into the weekend and into the next 3 weeks, a lot more introspection. This would be the best time to start a journaling practice if you haven't already done so, if you're not somebody who does that. This is an important time for reflection, and that mercurial energy of like writing things out, keeping a journal is an excellent way to harness this energy. So kind of use that time to reflect on your past, reflect on your past experiences, reflect on the things that you no longer want in your life that don't serve you. It's a very good time for that kind of introspection. The Mercury retrograde in your 12th house is going to be a deeply introspective time. You're going to be kind of off in another world mentally, and that's going to be a big part of this energy too. All right, and so that is the forecast for all 12 signs through the sign of Aries. And so let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next week. So for next week, we actually have a little bit of a calmer energy. The one thing I do want to mention though is that, so this whole time here, we've had such like intensity. February, it's still intense, but it lightens up just a little bit. However, the first week of February, Venus actually does move into the sign of Aquarius and adds to that Aquarius stellium. And so it does make things a little bit more all over the place. However, Venus does have this way of creating balance, of bringing people together, of bringing things together. It is a more harmonious energy, even if it is adding to that really intense square. And so I do see this as being more or less a good thing. Obviously it does add to the intensity and it could cause like interpersonal problems and things of that nature. But, I do think it will alleviate some of the issues and create a better sense of balance. It's kind of like we went through these changes, we figured all these things out, and now we have to come back into balance, come back into harmony, not only by revisiting, our plans and revising our plans for the future with that Mercury retrograde, but also with this Venusian energy, right? Bringing other people into the mix, coming into balance in a real way, by letting go of things that don't serve us and also bringing new things in. This is going to be, I think, it could stimulate some stuff. It could bring some interrelational issues, but again, for the most part, I do see this as being at least partially a mitigating influence. And so I think this is where we start to work toward creating peace and harmony in our own lives, and hopefully on a collective level as well. It might be a little challenging at first during this first week here, but I do think it's possible. So that's what we have coming up for next week. That's February 1st through February 7th. And that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share this with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from the information I provided in this forecast. I also have a couple more videos up here for you if you're interested in learning more about the current energies in the astrology, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.